So now you've hired the sales team and you're looking to manage performance, revenue growth, insights, pipeline, and opportunities. So stick with me as we walk through the 5 critical reports every entrepreneur and sales manager needs to get the results you're looking for.
Welcome to the Launch Capsule. With your host, James DuBos. Buckle up because your launch capsule begins now.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome to this episode of the Launch Capsule. I'm Jim DuBos, and today we're going to be covering how to effectively manage a sales team and drive the revenue growth that you're looking for. Entrepreneurs and sales managers need critical reports to give you the insights into performance, pipeline, and opportunities. So today we're going to cover 5 critical reports that you must have in order to get the outcomes that you're looking for. There's a couple of assumptions that I want to begin with here. Number 1, all revenue in the company must be assigned to a sales resource, whether that's an inside sales administrator or an external account manager. Because fundamentally, if you have revenue that's not assigned to someone, that revenue is at risk. The next assumption is that any growth that you've said that you're going to create in this calendar year should be aligned to specific customer targets. If you don't know the customers that you're trying to acquire in the market, chances are you're not going to be successful. So that growth must be aligned to customers and assigned to sales resources. Fundamentally, the goal here is that 100% of revenue targets are assigned and focused. The first key report that I want to cover is called a sales performance report. And its purpose really is just to evaluate the overall sales performance against the goals and benchmarks that you've set for the company. So there's some key metrics that we want to look for in this report. What is the total revenue, the actual revenue generated versus the target that you set for that period? What is the total margin for that period versus the targets? Within that margin, I want you to start looking at an average gross margin per transaction. That will become very important as you're planning for growth. So you need to start to understand not just the total margin produced in the period that you're measuring, but also the average gross margin per transaction. Another metric in this report is sales growth, year over year, month over month, quarter over quarter. Fundamentally, are you growing or shrinking is really what we're trying to get to here when you're doing a comparison between one period to another. The next attribute we're looking at is the sales by product/service category versus the targets that you set. Am I meeting my growth goals for a specific product or service category versus targets that you have in your plan? Last key metric for this report is sales by individual rep and team compared to the growth goals. Fundamentally, individually measuring each account manager for their performance in the given period that you're measuring, whether it's a monthly period, a quarterly period, or an annual period. So fundamentally, why does this matter? It helps us to assess whether the team is meeting sales targets and where any adjustments might be needed. Because look, the reality is you set a plan, and the plan is just that, a plan. It's not actual results. And so you're trying to create a muscle memory here where we're going to begin to evaluate the actual results against the plan that we established. The second report that we're going to look at is a sales pipeline and forecasting report. So the purpose here is to track individual deals in progress and try to predict some future revenue based upon closing parameters. So what are going to be the key metrics that we're going to look for here? Number 1, what is the total value of the deals that are in the pipeline, the opportunities that are in the pipeline? What is the conversion rate of those opportunities? What percentage are you closing within a measured period? What is the average sales cycle length? This is the third metric. What is the average sales cycle length on a per opportunity basis? What are the fourth attribute is what are the stages of the opportunities? In past companies, we built stages based upon customer buying patterns. So we might have a discovery stage. Then we might have a quoting stage, which told us that the customer had basically a budget, but they weren't really sure where they were going to go with this budget. The last metric I want to talk about is the probability weighted revenue forecast. And that is basically where we're saying, what is the potential for close? How comfortable or confident is the account manager relative to the closing of that opportunity? Do I think I have a 30% confidence, a 50% confidence, a 70% confidence, 90% confidence? And so this starts to give you an idea of not only the mental makeup of the account manager, also giving you an insight into just how confident are you in the revenue prediction of the overall pipeline itself. So why does this matter? Really what we're trying to do with the sales pipeline and forecasting report is provide visibility into future sales, and it allows for some proactive decision making. So let's say I've got $1 million of pipeline, but that pipeline only has an average confidence of 40%. Now I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get $1 million worth of revenue. So now I need to start to peel back and really understand what are those individual deal characteristics and say, okay, well, I've got one deal in here that I got a 90% and it's $200,000. And I got another deal in here that's $300,000 and it's 70%. And you can start to peel that back and say, okay, now I can start to get to a confidence factor of what I think my revenue will potentially be moving into the next in closing of the sales cycle. So I hope that helps. The second report I want to talk about is a sales pipeline and forecasting report. The purpose of this report is to track deals in progress, opportunities in progress, and to predict future revenue based upon the period that you're measuring. The key metric is first setting the proper sales stage against each opportunity in the pipeline. So let me walk through the most common ones that I've used in the past. First is prospecting. This is basically the lead generation stage where I'm just prospecting against potential opportunities. The second stage is qualification, where I'm engaged with a customer and I'm validating that they have budget. I might not know specifically what I'm going to quote yet, but I've validated that there is a legitimate budget for the opportunity that I'm getting ready to work on. The third stage is quoting, where I'm starting to generate actual quotations to represent revenue potential in the opportunity itself. The next phase the next stage that I like is refining. The refining stage is starting to get specific. Now I'm starting to tweak, if you will, the quotation and opportunity to the budget, to the outcome that the individual customer is trying to achieve. And then lastly is closing, meaning I'm basically waiting for signature, I'm waiting for purchase orders, meaning basically I'm waiting for signature, I'm waiting for purchase orders to be generated so that I can properly close the transaction. Through these various stages, my expectation is that the confidence factor related to the opportunity is also going to go up. So it starts to set a very key metric in the overall report, which is the probability to close, probability weighted revenue forecast. So as I'm going through the pipeline, as I'm looking at the opportunities, the probability weight confidence of closing should be going up. Therefore, I can start to have more confidence in that revenue coming to us in the future. The third value is really the total value of deals in pipeline. I just want to understand what is the total value of the sales funnel itself. The next is the pipeline conversion rate, meaning what percentage of the overall opportunity pipeline am I closing and ultimately winning as a percentage? And then lastly, I want to know, what is my sales cycle length for the entire opportunity? So I'm looking to get an average based upon the opportunity flow. How long is it taking me to convert the opportunity into an actual close moment? So going through those multiple stages of the opportunity, getting to a proper win, a proper close. So why does this matter? It's really all about getting visibility into future sales and proactively making decisions to bring opportunities to closure. So that is the sales pipeline and forecasting report. The third report is the lead and conversion report. The purpose of this report is to analyze how leads move through the sales funnel and where improvements are needed. You're going to look at the following key metrics. First, the number of leads generated, the source of the leads generated, things like marketing sources, referrals, outbound calls. The third you'll look for is the lead to opportunity conversion rate, meaning when does a lead convert into one of those stages we talked about earlier. And lastly, the opportunity to customer conversion rate, meaning we're looking for how many of our leads, then an opportunity, ultimately become a net new customer. So why does this matter? What we're really trying to do here is to optimize lead generation strategies and improve on the conversion rates associated. The fourth report is the customer retention and churn report. The purpose of this report is to track customer loyalty, repeat business, and churn risk associated with customers. The first key metric is customer retention rate. Have we lost any customers in the period that you're measuring? The second is repeat purchases, opportunities that converted to a close were repeat transactions from customers. You're looking for the number of repeat as well as the percentage of repeat. The third key metric is churn rate, lost customers. You want to track the number, the total number, and as a percentage of the total customer community that you serve. And then lastly, customer lifetime value. What is the total amount that the customer has generated in their life with you as a provider? So why does this matter? What we're trying to do here is focus on maintaining strong customer relationships and building and maximizing the long-term customer lifetime value. The fifth report is the sales activity and productivity report. The purpose of this report is just to monitor the efficiency and the effectiveness of the individual account managers. So the key metrics are going to be number of calls, emails, meetings, the variety of contacts that account managers and sales administrators will have, inside sales administrators will have with customers. The next metric I like to measure is the response time to leads. How long does it take an account manager to respond based upon a lead that came into the organization? The third metric I like to look at is the sales cycle length by account manager or by sales rep. Every sales rep has a different average sales cycle length, and it'll give you some insight into who is being the most efficient in their processing of customer opportunities. The fourth attribute is the deals closed by rep. I love to look at how many, from a quantity side, how many deals are being closed by rep. Earlier in the reporting dialogue, we talked about a key revenue report, a sales performance report. What's very normal to have those characteristics within that sales performance report also broke down by account manager, things like total revenue, total margin, your average gross margin transaction. By taking those and applying it to a individual account manager, it also gives you insight into who is the most profitable from generating both revenue and gross margin, who has the highest average gross margin per transaction, starts to give you insight into the overall productivity report. Why does this matter? What we really are looking for here is to build a view into the top performers and the areas where account managers may need coaching, where they are weak in their processes. It starts to give you insight into behaviors and where you can improve the team. These are the 5 most critical sales reports necessary for outcome success, for revenue and margin success in managing and building a sales team. I really appreciate your time. Have an awesome day.
That's a wrap for today's episode of The Launch Capsule. With your host and mentor to success, James DuBos. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and share.